The good, the bad, and the ugly of family conflict. Well, the ugliest is, in my experience, generally around marital disputes, which I know is not something that Jane, and good for her, it's not something that she likes to do. Um, when I think about prenuptial agreements and I think about guiding families around the issues of prenuptial agreements, I tend not to delve too deeply into the legality of it, the things that the lawyers will tell you, like make sure each party is separately represented and make sure that there's full disclosure and all those sorts of legal things. When I tried to guide families around prenups, not surprisingly, I tried to guide them in the area of communication, because the image that stays with me is a long married couple after 42 years of marriage, where the wife turned to her husband in my office and said, "Your mother never trusted me because 42 years ago they made me sign that stinking prenup agreement. And for 42 years of marriage, she held a grudge against her long deceased in-laws." So sure, by all means, make sure there's full financial disclosure, make sure there's all the different things that the lawyer is going to tell you. But the most important thing is to make sure that there's plenty of time for both parties to consider the pros and the cons. Make sure all of this happens long before the wedding invitations go out. We all know that story of Barry Bonds, who allegedly in the limo on the way to the wedding tossed a prenup into his intended's lap and said, "If you don't sign it, the wedding is off." And, you know, of course, that was deemed to be undue duress, and the agreement was set aside. The main thing really for parents for whom having a prenup is going to be part of the expectation for their children is to make sure that that expectation is on the table before your kids even hit dating age, because then it's not personal. Then it's not, "You never liked this person I'm about to marry," but no matter who you marry, whether it is someone vastly less wealthy than we or even someone vastly wealthier than we are, it is something that we are going to insist on. A corollary to that, and one I have seen work particularly well if there's more than one child, is to encourage your children to enter into a pact among themselves with each other, that no matter who they marry, as an element of responsible stewardship of the family's wealth, they are going to make sure they all have prenups before they get married. And then it's not personal to the dreaded, mother-in-law, but rather it's something that we're all doing as siblings to act as responsible siblings. And I've seen that work really well. So again, like Jane, my focus is on communication, it's on conflict avoidance before it happens. And it's not so much on the legalities, because there are practicing lawyers who are going to be better advisors on that, but rather I can help families before before it turns ugly, enter into some of these potentially ugly conversations.
Love it. When you said that, go ahead, Jane.
Just so true.
I love it.
It's the and I have seen an instance just jumps to mind where, of course, I'm hearing all of this third hand at best, but the intended is so offended that this topic has come up, and it's far, far in advance. There's no wedding date. That it is way in advance. So that part went well, but the adult child of the family, and in this instance there was not an operating family business, but there was enough wealth that the family had conversations with the children very early on, that adult child was able to say to the intended, "This has nothing to do with you. I knew about this long before I met you." So just to what Susan was saying, if you get it out there before they can meet that perfect love match, then that person is in the position to say, I guarantee it's nothing to do with you. I've known about this for so long before I knew you.
Love it. Yeah, you know, what makes me, the phrase that comes to mind is, when is the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time? Today.